Okay, everybody, we're back from our recess. We're now at item 10. This is committee reports or minutes. We now have 2 committee reports on today's agenda. Under Council's meeting procedures, the committee or section chair introduces their committee report or minutes, and then they summarize the matters considered that are now being brought forward to Council today for ratification. Councillor Moore, you chaired Planning and Development Committee, which met on October 30th. The committee minutes are here for Council approval. I now pass the chair to you to lead Council in consideration of the committee minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The minutes are before us. And the recommendations, we didn't pass the recommendations, did we, Mr. Clerk? These are the minutes with recommendation?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
What's correct? They are the minutes and the recommendations?
Full minutes with recommendations.
Thank you. Yeah. Just as a reminder, members of committee, we had one statutory public meeting in Ward 6 on Heritage Road. We had one planning report in Ward 3 on 153 Queen Street West. We received the minutes of the Cycling Advisory Committee and the Brampton Heritage Board. We had one item, one referred item. It was a review of the current zoning bylaw as it relates to boat and trailer parking restrictions. And we had one question asked during councillor question period, and staff responded to it. It was with reference to agenda management. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Mayor, I'll turn them back to you for ratification.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Gibson, that the minutes be received and the recommendations be approved. All those in favour? It's carried. Committee of Council met on November 1st. The committee recommendations are here for Council approval. I now pass the chair to the respective section chairs in order of consideration during the committee meeting to lead Council in consideration of the committee minutes. Councillor Pellechy is ill today. Councillor Moore, would you chair Community Services section, please?
I'd be happy to, Madam Mayor. The minutes and the recommendations are before members of Council. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Mayor, I'll turn it back to you. That was easy.
So, Mr. Clerk, where, in fact, are the committee minutes with regards to the salary administration? Is that under corporate services?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that would be under the corporate services section of the Committee of Council minutes, and specifically it's recommendations CW 378 2017 and CW 379.
That's where I'll ask questions in there. Councillor Bowman, you chaired Economic Development and Culture section. Would you chair your portion?
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Mayor. The Economic Development and Culture section, we had a standing item, which is the presentation from Bob Sagan on the university update. Under item 7.12, we then had Bob give us another presentation on the Economic Development Master Plan, where he touched on the scope of the plan, the impact of the University and Peel Memorial Centre, decrease in live-work ratio in Brampton, which we had some very good discussion on, and we had some varying opinions on Brampton's growth rate and what should be achieved and how to achieve it as terms of live-work. We then had a presentation from Kelly Stahl regarding the community grant program, and we discussed the changes in it, the options, whether delegations should be involved or permitted, the importance of maintaining the integrity of the grant program, and we had questions regarding the 10% of the holdback of funds until we got completion reports from each of the groups that got a grant program. And then we had item 7.22, which was a report as well from Kelly Stahl on the change of scope for the sports tourism strategy budget allocations, and that was strictly a budget reallocation. We have Councillor Sprovieri.
Thank you. Have the issue on the community grant program voted again at the committee meeting. The vote, it was a recorded vote, and it showed that there's 4 of us councillors that did not support the main motion. I'd like to have it separated. I do support the program, but I had a problem with the delegations, which I did not support. I believe that I feel that it was not necessary to shut the door on anyone. I believe in open and transparent government, and I believe that we should be open to the public and not shut anybody out from hearing from them. So I like to have it separated, the two parts. The main motion is on the program, and the second motion on the delegation part.
Okay, and before we do that, Councillor Medeiros?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Spoveri, for raising this again. I also had expressed the exact same opinion last time. Understanding the intent of not putting this council on, I guess, on the spotlight or in a difficult situation, but I do agree with exactly your sentiments that, good or bad, we should never stifle any resident who wants to come, any organization or association who wants to come to this council and delegate. And so I thank you, Councillor Spoveri, for bringing this up again.
Okay. Mr. Fay, can I have a clarification? When we were talking about the change to the program and exactly what Councillor Spoveri and Councillor Medeiros are talking about, we were referring to a delegation coming to council after they had already been through the grant program and either given a grant or declined a grant or not given as much of a grant as they wanted, correct? We weren't talking about anybody coming and asking for grants.
Through Mr. Chair, it actually covers both, because the current procedure bylaw does include a rule that essentially says that members of the public should not come to council to request funding. They should be routed through the appropriate staff, through appropriate policies. This amendment, which is number 7 on the screen, is clarifying the wording in terms of that it clearly states that it relates to the community grant funding program as well.
Okay. All right. So we will have another vote with the items separated.
Record. Yeah.
So through you, Mr. Chair, recorded vote's been requested just on Clause 7, which is shown on the screen, of Recommendation CW 372, 2017. All in favor, please stand to be counted.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're asking for clarification. Councillor Gibson? Can we have a button pushed? So we are voting just on 7, that no delegation shall be.
Yes.
That no delegation shall be permitted to make a request for financial assistance. Okay, just item number 7.
Well, what about the main motion?
We'll vote on the main motion after number 7 is
Okay.
taken care of.
All right.
Okay?
So, recorded vote's been requested through the automated voting. Voting is now open.
Right.
All members have voted. And the motion loses on a tie, 5-5.
Okay.
Wait, so the motion, this motion loses then?
But through you, Mr. Chair, under the Municipal Act and Council's Procedure Bylaw, a tie vote is a lost vote.
Yeah, so we will change that now for the vote on the entire grants package. Okay?
So can we have an explanation, clarification? So if this motion loses, then the delegations will be able to still happen
Yes.
then?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah? Yeah. Well,
Is that correct, Mr. Fay? The delegations, the vote lost delegations are permitted now. No.
The current Procedure Bylaw, through you, Mr. Chair,
sorry?
so
Mr. Clerk?
through you, Mr. Chair, Council took a recorded vote just on Clause 7, which failed. Therefore, Clause 7, which is a further amendment to the Procedure Bylaw to clarify the rules on financial assistance requests at Council, will not occur. There still is a rule in today's Procedure Bylaw that speaks to something very similar, which says delegations cannot come to Council to request financial assistance. They have to be routed through the appropriate staff, through appropriate policy. That stays in the procedure bylaw unless Council authorizes to change them.
Okay, so now we are voting on the entire grant package.
So the recorded vote then is on clauses 1 to 6 of recommendation CW 372, 2017, which is essentially are the staff recommendations from the staff report from last week.
Okay. Do we want to record a vote on that as well? Did somebody? Okay. Oh, Councillor Gibson, sorry.
Recorded vote's been...
Sorry, my question or comment, Mr. Chair, is then we need staff to upheld the procedure bylaw, because that obviously wasn't happening. Correct?
Yep. Thank you.
Recorded vote's been requested. Voting is now open.
We're voting from 1 to 6.
All members have voted. The motion carries unanimously, 10-0.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fay. Is there any other questions, concerns? Councillor Gibson, are you still on board, or did you have a... Okay. Thank you very much. Seeing nobody else on the board, I will pass it back to you, Madam Mayor, for ratification.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Councillor Miles, you chaired Corporate Services section. Take us through those minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So members of council, you have before you the minutes of the Corporate Services section. A lot of time was spent with presentations on modernizing the City of Brampton's policies and procedures as they are related to employee engagement, a revised salary administration policy, and fostering a high-performance workforce in regards to recruiting and retaining top talent. So that was a series of 4 reports that we dealt with. In addition to that, we had an update on our planning vision, and also in regards to modernizing our planning and development services program as it relates to the future of economic development and investment in Brampton. Again, a report that was very positively received by council. On another note, we did pass a recommendation from our Enforcement and Property and Bylaw Services Division endorsing Toys for Tickets toy drive, which will take place over a number of days, and will allow residents who receive a ticket to either purchase a toy or a gift card or something that will benefit families in our community over the Christmas season. So that was a very positive gesture, I think, by our enforcement and endorsed by council. And lastly, but certainly not least, a report on a climate change strategy that the city is moving forward with in conjunction with the region of Beale. So, any questions on any of that? Councillor Sprovieri?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair, I'd just like to get a little bit more understanding about the salary, this program, the bonus, I guess, the increase for performance issue.
So, John, which report is it?
This is 813, the modernizing the City of Brampton HR policies and procedures.
Okay.
I have a question to staff, just to clarify. My understanding is that we have a salary band that everybody starts, new employees starts at the bottom, and then they gradually move up with time to the top of the band. Based on, is that based on just service, a number of yearly service or timing, or is it based on performance, on whether they move up the salary band or stay stagnant?
Thank you for your question. To clarify, for our non-union staff,
Yes.
you would move through your band on an annual basis based on your performance. So if you are seen as a person who's performing well, there'll be a certain increase through your pay band. If you're not, there's nothing. So it's based strictly on your performance and the deliverables and results. That's for our non-union staff. For our union staff, they would move through bands based on experience or through length of service and job. So that is a very different approach between how a union or a non-union member moves through their pay band.
Okay, and I thank you for that. And now, the issue of the additional bonus, I guess we call it pay for performance, does that come into effect only when a person reaches the top of the band, and then based on their performance, they would get either 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, or 0? Or can a person get both as they're moving through the band?
For non-union,
Yes,
you could
non-union.
not receive both. So you would move through, if you were, let's say you make, the band is 80 to 90,000 and you're making 85,000, you may increase the following year to 86,500. If you were at the top of your band, so you were at the 90% and you were seen as a strong performer, you may get a one-time lump sum payment of, say, $1,500. So it wouldn't increase your band, it would be because you're already at the top of your band. And that may happen after someone's been in a job for 10 or 12 years.
Okay. And
Clear, no one goes through that band if they don't perform. So a
Right.
non-union, they get 0 if they don't perform.
Right, and that's great to be assured of that, because and that's the way it should be. So the question I have through the chair is to make the and I don't know whether it's possible or not, but I'm asking to make things really transparent. Is it possible on a yearly basis that a report could come to council indicating the people who the people who are at the top of the band, what sort of performance increase they have received? Is that something that can be done in a report to council? So we'll say, well, Mr. Schlang, he did really exceptionally well. He got a 4% increase on his performance, let's take Joe for instance here. He's an exceptionally commissioner, I think, and so he so he got 5% and so on. Can we do that? Can we have that transparency in reporting to council?
I think that's a discussion I would certainly discuss with our Chief Administrative Officer. I would see that it would be quite easy for us to report aggregate data. We could show that we have 675 individuals who participate in our Pay for Performance program. What we could then show you is out of those 675, we may have had 50 who are in this band or at this rating, 50 in this rating, and so on. So I think that's something, certainly while protecting personal information, we could report on where staff landed from a rating perspective. So what was the result of their annual performance appraisal, their performance rating?
Yeah. And that would be great. I think that we need to have that, and perhaps I can move a motion that we get staff to look at that and report back to us, Madam Chair. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, are you speaking to the same issue? No. Okay. Okay. So then everybody has heard the motion that Councillor Sprovieri has put on the floor. So basically that staff will report back as outlined by the Director of HR. All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Madam Mayor.
So, Madam Chair, I had an opportunity over the weekend to relook at this, the 8.2, the Modernizing Human Resources and a Revised Salary Administration Policy. And I remember when we were going through the deck in committee, and I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't know why. So I went back to read it, and I guess my question to staff is, the only reporting that comes out of the recommendations is an annual report back to council. And I guess, to me, that's not enough. When I look back at the challenges that we had when audit found that the internal controls were ineffective. I really like some political oversight, and I think, not that I don't trust our senior staff, but at the end of the day, the sign-off is HR, the department head, the CAO, finance, corporate leadership team, and what's missing? There's no members of council. So my question to staff is there another way, rather than annually, maybe it's quarterly, that there will be some discussion, some involvement of council, because I just feel that it's important for us to have a sense of what's happening. This is a new program. It's not launching till January, and I think that there should be an opportunity for us to see the program working, evaluate it, and I think that's the piece that's missing. We've got everybody else looking at this program, and I guess my request to staff is there a way that you can, through the recommendations, find a more frequent opportunity for council to see how this revised salary administration policy is working?
Mr. Schlang, would you like to respond?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Again, the policy that we're modifying is from 2002. We really needed to modernize this. We're seeing improvements in the corporation, and we want to retain and attract our best staff. So we were putting annual reporting back, but we have no problem, quarterly, semi-annually. Probably would make more sense, Mayor, semi-annually, because you're not going to get a lot of data. It's not like purchasing or real estate. It's going to be very few transactions, but if you feel more comfortable, we could say quarterly or semi-annually, but I'd prefer semi-annually right now. So we're also doing an audit, a full audit on this again in 2018 by our internal audit individuals, so you're going to get that feedback, and so there'll almost be 2 in 2018.
Well, through you, Madam Chair, I would say if we did it twice a year at this point, because you're starting in January, it's going to take you a good 6 months to see anything for us to measure or evaluate. So as long as council's still in that loop, I would be much happier, and I appreciate you making that modification.
Okay, so that would be an amendment to the report then, in regards to reporting back to council semi-annually. Okay, all in favor of that amendment? That's carried. Thank you very much. I don't have any other names on the board, so I'll pass it back to you, Madam Mayor, for ratification.
Okay. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the minutes be received and the recommendations as amended be approved. All those in favor? That's carried. Our next item is correspondence from the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. Do any members have questions or comments on the correspondence? Do I have a motion, Mr. Clerk? Thank you. Motion moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Bortini, that the correspondence be received. All those in favor? That's carried. New business. We have 16.2. Did I miss something? Sorry.
I'll make it quick.
And ask you if you could report back on Public Works and Engineering section.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it was a rather quick portion of the meeting. We didn't have anything, no reports to report on, but we did have a question period that Councillor Bowman brought up on the alternative traffic calming measures, and I think staff is looking after it, so I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm just in a rush to get to the next item. 16.2 is an item Councillor Miles put on the agenda with regards to the fire chief. Councillor Miles, did you want to speak to this new item?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. I guess that our fire department are pretty amazing at communicating with members of council when there is a fire incident in our community. And I guess the reason why I'm bringing it here is it is my sense or my impression that we are seeing more actual fires in the community than in the past. We used to have our fire department used to come and report out to members of council, would show us the amount of incidents, the amount of dollars lost, and in some cases any trends that might be happening, so preventative measures could be taken by the municipality. So that's what I wanted to raise and ask our new chief to give consideration to doing something like that in the future. And I think he has good news to share.
So through the mayor to Councillor Miles, we've been making a significant effort to regular update council, and that may mean at times multiple emails that you might see, but we really want to communicate the outcomes of these emergencies too. And over a recent month, we've had a number of fires, but they have related or resulted in positive outcomes, which has been great, and thankful to the quick actions and the timely response of our firefighters. We do project this year, quickly looking at the stats, to have a slight decline in fires. So, but we can bring a report, and there is a plan to do that in early 18 and talk about our emphasis on public education and prevention to keep the community safe, and something that we as a department and I as the fire chief wholeheartedly believe in. We're doing some groundbreaking work, and we're excited to share that. Probably stay tuned in January for that report. So we're happy to share all that data and statistics.
Okay. So thank you very much. Through you to Madam Mayor, it sounds like our new fire chief is already looking at ways to communicate with council. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to hear that the number of incidences are actually on the decline. So it just shows you what perception can sometimes be. So it's good to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. And I think the beauty of having been here before is I remember Veryl Clark bringing reports to our agendas.
Yes.
I don't know when that started to fall off the agenda, but I think it really does help to have a regular reporting, good news or other news, and certainly anything you can do to update us through
We'll make a conscious
committee
effort.
reports. I think that's a good place for that conversation. So
Great.
Thank you. I like the fact that you're bringing back some stuff that was useful in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Our next item is government relations. So we receive the briefing report from the, so this is the next one. We have government relations matters. Materials have been distributed to members by the CEO's office in regards to the regional council meeting tomorrow, Thursday, November 9th. Lowell is here to respond to any questions from council. Do any members have any questions regarding the information provided? Are you going to do a presentation, Lowell, please? I hear the mutterings behind me. They want to hear from you, so.
Council, I promised to give you the abridged version of this presentation, but happy to answer any questions as we go along or at the end. Really quickly, I just want to focus on two regional council reports that I flagged. The first one is the update on homelessness in Peel, and the reason why I wanted to flag this is because it does touch on the youth centers and the fact that they are over capacity, and within the regional budget, there is an item there to increase the number of beds to 10. So I think that's an important consideration as you go through the regional budget consideration. And because this point comes up quite often, I just wanted to let you know that staff is working with regional staff as they renew their mandated Peel housing and homelessness plan. And that I wanted to flag for you that at your next Planning and Development Services Committee meeting that you will be seeing an affordable housing framework and the work plan that's going to be going into that. So I think that's an important point that I look forward to that discussion. I just want to pause on this slide for a little bit. As you may be aware, Metrolinx has released their regional transportation plan. The deadline to provide comments is on November 17th. So I'll just pause, leave that date out there for a second. Tomorrow, Regional Council Metrolinx is going to be making a presentation, as well as Regional Council is going to be considering their report, as well as their comments to the regional transportation plan. Metrolinx is scheduled to come to the Planning and Development Committee on November the 20th, so that's after the deadline to submit comments. But yesterday at Transit Council of Chairs, the conversation came up because of the importance of this document. What we submitted yesterday as part of your package with the GR update is draft comments and draft report on the RTP. When we do submit this by the 17th, we are going to, with the provost, that this hasn't been endorsed by council yet, so if there is any refinements based on the November 20th and the subsequent council endorsement of it, we will provide those comments after the fact. However, we wanted to give you as much time as possible to, if there is any questions or comments, please let staff know paraphrase that, like not to me, but to my colleague Henrik. And just keep in mind that we are trying to get the comments in by the 17th. Cannabis. The next couple slides cover the legislation that was introduced in the legislature last week. So this is Bill 174. There's four main components of this. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of it, as I think staff still needs some time to kind of pick it apart and really do their due diligence to really understand the legislation as a whole, but also its impact on municipalities. So I'll just go through some of the pieces very quickly. I did want to point out that staff really is trying our best to work with the province, so we are meeting regularly with the Ministry of Attorney General, in particular the Cannabis Secretariat, just so we're as informed leading into the legislative process. And then also through meeting with the GTHA mayors and regional chairs, we are addressing some of the specific questions to municipalities. And as we go through this process, we want to ensure that we have timely and key touch points with this council, so you're regularly updated on the process. The one part of the bill is, as we'll all probably be aware, is to establish the retail component of cannabis. So the retail component in Ontario will have the exclusive rights to sell recreational cannabis, as well as only to those who are 19 or over. We'll probably also know through the media is that the province is going to be phasing in 150 stores by July 2019. As also, I just wanted to address some of the media attention, also the fact that the city of Brampton was identified as one of the first of the 14 municipalities to have at least one cannabis retail outlet store by July 2018. Timing is everything, so tomorrow there's actually a meeting. The Ministry of Finance as well as the LCBO reached out to us, so they are trying to do their due diligence to engage the municipality. So tomorrow there is a meeting with Finance and LCBO staff. This is just to we'll hopefully be able to get a better understanding of their game plan moving forward, and then also this is an opportunity that we'll be able to share with them some of our concerns that we've heard from Council. The Cannabis Act itself sets the requirements as to the minimum age, which is 19, so this is a little bit different than other provinces. The province of Alberta, I believe, is going with where the federal government is, 18. And then the other point I wanted to point out is the focus of the legislation really is on the public education and prevention strategies to the youth. So when you go through the legislation, they're actually empowering police officers as well as the court to divert youths who are charged to go through these programs rather than go through the criminal or to the other penalties. The Smoke-Free Ontario Act, what they've done is they've combined a number of pieces of legislation, the Smoke-Free Ontario Act being one of them, into one act. So this just is kind of like a cleanup of legislation. They're going to be regulating under one act tobacco, medical, cannabis, as well as vapor-related products. In the legislation, I know some of the comments that we've heard and we've been kind of working through is the enforcement piece. So the legislation does speak to these provincial inspectors who would be used for this enforcement. So this appears to the legislation, we'd have to take another look at it, but it seems like the enforcement could be done through the province if the minister chooses to do so. And then the last piece of the act was they made some rather stringy penalty changes to the Highway Traffic Act, and this is if you are caught either driving under the influence, either drugged or otherwise. Again, for us as staff, it's really important because this is a very interesting public policy change. It's moving relatively quickly, and there's a lot of moving parts, within the provincial side as well as on the federal side, as well as even the multidisciplinary team here at the city. So we are trying to keep pace of it. So these are just some of our next steps. We are going to be continuing to review the legislation and any other pieces of documents. We're going to continue to engage with the Cannabis Secretary and the Finance. There is a joint meeting amongst the region and the area municipalities on how we can all work collectively to ensure that our council and ultimately our residents are informed on the changes that are coming. And then again, in due diligence and when timing is right, we'll ensure that this council is informed and updated on a regular basis. So it's, this was just a very high level, and there's a lot within the legislation. So this kind of whittles down, 100 plus pages into 4 very comprehensive slides. And then the last 2 slides on the provincial side, there's been a number of announcements on the senior side. I'm hoping to be able to provide an update on one of these particular items later this afternoon, so just stay tuned for that's maybe a little bit of a teaser for what's going to be happening later on this week. So there are some movements on the senior side. And then sometimes I don't always include the federal side, but I think that it's important this time around because they did release immigration projections and the number of immigrants that they're looking at until 2020. So as you can tell, by 2020, you're hitting that 340,000. Then if you look at our population, and Councillor Miles raised, newcomers to Peel, the number that come to Brampton, how many of those are newcomers to Canada? I think we have to be able to manage that growth from the immigration side and ensure that while they are targeting the working class, which I think is very important for that job and continuity, we also have to remember that we have to ensure that we have the proper supports. And I really appreciate the conversation around building those complete, healthy communities. I think that was a really important point that was raised earlier. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, on the cannabis, I'm not sure whether it's a good news or bad news story that Brampton's one of the 14 that's getting a retail store, but do you know what the criteria is to how it's going to be selected? Does the municipality get any kind of say in it? What's the ultimate decision making and what criteria goes into making that decision?
I think that's a really good question, and through you, Madam Mayor, I don't have that answer right now, and I think that's part of the reason why the finance and the LCBO is reaching out to the first 14, so we can actually work through that. We have, from a staff perspective, and we heard it from council, that there are some things about location, not near schools, not in residential areas. There has to there's common sense places for it, but we don't know exactly what the ministry or the provincial government's criteria. So we have to make sure that there is a mesh in there.
I'm just wondering whether we should be proactive on this and indicate where, besides schools and stuff like that, where we wouldn't want.
So it's going to be in LCBOs, right?
Sorry?
It's going to be in LCBOs.
No, it's going to be a standalone, so it's going to be called the Ontario Cannabis Retail Corporation.
Okay.
So cannabis will not be sold with alcohol, so this is a separate.
Oh, okay.
The governance and structure is going to be very similar, if not the exact same as the LCBO, but it's going to be independent, so they won't be physically located. So the location is going to be very important.
Yeah, so maybe she helps.
Just Lowell, though, I through you, Madam Mayor, I do want us to, I think we're meeting with the Minister of Finance staff tomorrow. Once we hear a bit more, if we need to be proactive, we better be proactive. Because I've seen in Niagara and Lake what they've done when they started to allow these marijuana greenhouse places without any input from municipalities. So we really need to get proactive. But hopefully there's some criteria, and we'll share that with you. And if we feel there's we'll get proactive if we need to.
Okay, yeah, that was my point. I think we should be proactive on it. So we don't need to give you any direction on that. You just will do that?
Come back.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Miles.
Especially interested when I saw the announcement about Ontario creating 4 more senior centres across the province, especially because that is one of the top priorities of this council. So I guess I'm just wondering, are we actively looking at that process? And do you have any insights that you could share in regards to when those dollars would actually be released?
I did a second ago. Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. Yes, so it's originally when we saw this 40 centers, we thought that this was going to be time for capital dollars. But when you actually look through the guidelines, and again, it's a short little 50-page document. It's actually more towards programs.
Oh,
so
that's okay too.
Which is fantastic. So this is not to grow programs, but it's to expand it into, it's not to expand current programs, but to bring in new programs with a real focus. Again, it's that building healthy and complete communities. So municipalities are eligible as well as community organizations are eligible. The first wave is December 21st of this year. But the province, and I think we do have to thank them, they recognize that not all municipalities and organizations are going to be ready, so they've actually extended the timeline for the funding programs to March 31st, 2018. So as a staff, we are working on that. And then there's a whole gambit of information, municipalities' responsibility, and the province is going to fund up to 50%, up to a maximum of $42,700. dollars. So you'd have to, so that's, and then municipalities have to contribute up to 20% of the program.
Okay. Really interesting. I see just from the bit of information that you've given us that there's probably opportunities for great collaboration between the region of Peel and the city of Brampton. But I think even more so, stories that I hear about in quite a few of our recreation centers where senior citizens have made our recreation centers their home in kind of an informal way. I think Gourmettos being one of them. So would we be able to look at opportunities where we could actually take a look at some of these grants and formalize opportunities to provide more support and programs for seniors in existing recreation facilities? Yes?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, we can take a look at that.
Excellent. Can you do it by December 21st? Al?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're working on it now.
Okay.
But again, the nice thing with this grant program is that they've actually extended it to the March 31st. But again, I think as staff, we can go back and see if we can be creative and come up with at least a first round through by December 21st.
I mean, we have the amazing model of the Flower City seniors, which is an amazing model. But we have this natural migration already in many of our recreation centers for seniors to just go and find a welcome and safe home to be in. So if there's a way that we can take advantage of additional funding to provide more support for our seniors, that would be just amazing. And that could include other programming like swimming and fitness and the whole gambit. So good news. I look forward to hearing back on it.
Thank you. Councillor Moore?
Thank you very much. Just a couple of quick questions. Do the LCBOs in town pay taxes? Do we know? No? Do we get payment in lieu?
We can find out.
For them? So I guess by extension, would the LCBO that's downtown pay in the BIA levies? So I think it's important to know that.
We'll find out.
And my other question, and I guess this is where you were talking about law in terms of enforcement. Right now it's the AGCO. Do we know, is their mandate going to be expanded for enforcement issues around licensing and things like that?
Through Madam Mayor, I'm not sure. We can find
Okay.
that. This is actually a good point that if we don't have the answers today, if there's anything on anybody's mind, I think that helps us as staff to really figure out where, the elected official sides are. So this is actually really good
Yeah, because
feedback.
the AGCO, I know, work very closely with our zoning and bylaw folks, certainly around the IMET table, the Integrated Municipal Enforcement Team. And so if there's another agency or board that might be involved, we need to make sure that they're included. So I'll just put that out there. Thank you.
Councillor Dillon?
Just very briefly, I just want to say there's an excellent point made by Councillor Miles. I think if we can encourage our seniors to get more active, and if there's different programs for them, a lot of the time they're asking for a lot of the shade shelters just because they just want to have somewhere to sit. And so the new library coming up on Bramley and Sandalwood, they're had a lot of requests for a place for them to simply just want to play cards. But if there's anything that we can do to keep them active, to keep them busy, because I know, for example, War Meadows and Soccer Center especially, there's probably about close to 60 to 70 of them that sit and just socialize and congregate and really don't have anything else to do. So I guess if we can be a little bit, clever in the way we get them active, I think that'd be really good, or anything to give them support. So just want to thank Councillor Miles for her suggestion.
Councillor Willens?
Yeah, just quickly, thank you both for the presentations, and especially with it's nice to know that you are looking at those programs available for the seniors, because we did at the last Seniors Council meeting I had a couple of the seniors that actually one of them sits on the age-friendly, and they were asking if staff is looking into it, so they'll be glad to hear that you are already, so good work, thanks.
And thank you, Madam Mayor. Maybe if I can just make a comment, even as staff, as we get closer to provincial election, the province themselves are now kind of starting to release a lot of the money that they've mentioned at the start of their term. So as staff, we're trying to get a little bit more creative and a little bit more mobilized ourselves so we can react a lot more quicker and a little bit more holistically as a organization to go after some of this new grant money. So,
Councillor Fortini.
Madam Mayor, just a quick couple of questions. Well, thank you for the report. On this tougher drugs for zero tolerance for younger and commercial, how tougher can it be when we already have that zero tolerance? You know anything what they're going to change on it?
Sorry, through Madam Mayor, are you talking about the Highway Traffic Act?
Under the Traffic Act.
Increasing the fines. So I think it was more on the fine stuff, and then also the limits. So most of it is just kind of on the dollar amounts of those fines that they've really drastically increased.
My second question is, if they're going to open a facility here in Brampton, do you think we're going to get some tax credit like the gas tax credit to our city on all the profit they make?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is a big question we can ask tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have no more speakers, but I guess I'd like to just make 3 points. The first is on the youth homelessness. I think when we first started talking about this at the region, I don't think staff at the time thought that we would be able to fill up the facility, and they have been surprised at the uptake. So the fact that we're getting 10 more beds is nice that we haven't had to push for it as a Brampton regional representative group, so I'm really pleased about that. I'm pleased the seniors deadline has been extended, and I would say that there's a lot more coordination with our staff about those provincial opportunities, and I've heard staff working on them, so I'm very encouraged by that. So thank you, Mr. Schlang, for making sure the team sees this as a priority, because it really does grow the dollars that we put into our budget. And third, I'm going to speak, I think, on behalf of my regional colleagues. I feel better prepared for regional meetings now than I ever have. So Lowell, I think you're doing a great job. Thank you. I just feel like I'm better prepared, so keep up the good work.
Well, Madam Mayor, I don't know how to take a compliment, but folks like commissioners here and Henrik and colleagues.
Well, please
they're working
put on our
very
thanks
hard
together.
on
But you're the one who's the traffic cop and brings it all to us in a timely fashion. So we do appreciate it. It really makes our job a lot easier heading in, knowing generally what's important to our staff and how we can better serve our city. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So we have a motion moved by Councillor Fortini, seconded by Councillor Willens, that the report to be received. All those in favor? That's carried. We now deal with item 19, that's public question period. This is where we can invite members of the public to come forward to the podium to ask any questions about any decision made by council at today's meeting. Any members of the public that would like to come down? Seeing none, we're now at the portion of the meeting dealing with the adoption of the city bylaws to give effect to the council decisions made at this meeting and previous meetings. I have a motion moved by Councillor Willen, seconded by Councillor Fortini, to approve the bylaws. All those in favor? That's carried. Our next item of business is item 21, closed session business. I have a motion moved by Councillor Miles, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that council proceed into closed session to discuss matters pertaining to the following. 21.1, minutes closed session, City Council, October 25th. 21.2, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, Ontario Municipal Board matter. 21.3, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, property expropriation matter. 21.4, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by municipality or local board, property acquisition matter. All those in favor? I didn't actually see all the hands. All those in favor? It's carried. This meeting is now recessed in order for council to consider its closed session business in the 6th floor boardroom. All meetings of council must start and end in public session. After closed session is completed, council will reconvene in public session in these council chambers to complete its business on today's agenda, including reporting out on any actions arising from its closed session portion of the meeting, passing a confirming bylaw to confirm the proceedings and decisions from this meeting, and adjourning the meeting. We're recessed until another 10 minutes, please. Okay, we're returning to public session. In the continuing interest of transparency and open government, I will report in public session any outcomes from today's closed session business. As a result of our closed session today, I wish to report the following. 21.1 minutes closed session, City Council, October 25th. These minutes were acknowledged by Council. 21.2 litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Ontario Municipal Board matter. This item was considered by Council and direction was given to staff. 21.3 proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land by the municipality or local board property expropriation matter. No direction was given. 21.4 proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board property acquisition matter. No direction was given. I have a motion. Our next item of business is item 22, the confirming bylaw. I have a motion moved by Councillor Miles, who isn't here. Does that matter?
Oh, she's here, right here.
Oh, she needs to be in the room. Moved by Councillor Miles, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the bylaws be given the required number of readings and taken by the mayor and the city clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto to confirm the proceedings of a regular council meeting held November 8th. All those in favor? That's carried. Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 22nd at 9:30, Wednesday, December 13th, 9:30, Wednesday, December 13th at 7 p.m., a special meeting with regards to our 2018 budget. Our last item of business is item 23, that's the adjournment. Thank you, members, for your respectful consideration and decisions today. Thanks to staff for their information and advice. As I said, Council will meet again November 22nd at 9:30, which is a Wednesday, November 13th at 9:30, and again Wednesday, the December 13th at 7 p.m. for a special meeting with regards to our 2018-2020 budget. I have a motion moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Willens, to adjourn today's meeting. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? That's carried. This meeting is adjourned. Please enjoy the rest of your day.